What's happening, guys? We are here in front of Fleet Feet in Austin, Texas, and one of the most common questions I get is, Matt, what pair of running shoes should I get if I'm a new runner or just getting into running? And this might be one of the most common questions I get, and obviously it makes a lot of sense. We all need running shoes when we run, but the question becomes, what's best? Daily road trainer? Should I get a trail shoe? Should I get a carbon fiber shoe? We're gonna kind of cover everything in between. We're gonna head into Fleet Feet and get a shoe specialist to help us get fitted for a shoe. I'm gonna kind of pretend like I'm a beginner runner or a new runner to kind of make it realistic for you guys. The goal of this is to find a shoe that works for you. Some people might be pronators or supinators, or you might have a flat foot versus a normal arch foot. Whatever the case may be, everyone's foot is different, so it's important to understand what your foot analysis is so you can get a shoe that helps benefit you for running. At the end of this video, you should have a better idea of what to look for in your first pair of running shoes. Let's go check it out. Let's go. All right, so we just got into Fleet Feet. We'll get with one of their foot specialists and we'll go through their 3D scan, and I'll kind of have them explain a little bit more on their side. So I'm gonna kind of pretend like I don't know much, and I'm gonna get fitted like I'm a new runner looking to get my foot scanned as well as find a shoe that works for me. So let's go see what they're talking about. What's up, bro? How you doing, man?
What brings you into Fleet Feet today?
So I want to look for a new pair of running shoes.
Okay.
I am a runner, but I want to get a better idea of, like, you know, if my feet are the same size, or if I'm pronating or supinating, or if I have any, like, you know, high arch, mid arch. So I kind of want to just take me through your normal procedure.
Yeah. Have you had a shoe like this before?
I want to like get more into like marathon training, right?
Okay.
So like, let's use that as like an example. So I'm looking for like a daily trainer.
Okay.
I typically use shoes that are like just kind of like your regular, like Pegasus, right? Or like kind of like your Hoka Mach 4 type of shoe where it's somewhat not max cushion, not super cushiony. But I don't know. I wanna just see what the 3D scan reads to see if there's something that maybe I don't know about my foot.
Right.
But I would say I'm typically doing more road running. I've done some ultras in the past, but like the focus now would kind of be road running.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, with the Mach and the Pegasus, it's lower profile, a little bit lower cushion,
Yes.
but still some impact absorption. So
For sure.
that's good to know.
Hell yeah.
Do you have any injuries, anything like that I should be aware of?
That's a great question, and honestly, if you do have injuries, like if you have plantar fasciitis or if you have shin splints, these are good things to bring up to your foot specialist as you go to any running store near you. Just because people have a better idea of like whether you might need an insert or you might need a certain shoe that's going to help protect you with that. Luckily, Finn, I have had shin splints previously, but I've done a lot of foot strengthening, which have kind of alleviated some of that. So I found that like I typically like neutral road running shoes, and like that's kind of been my sweet spot. Could you talk about the difference between a neutral shoe versus a stability shoe almost?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so within most of the brands that we carry here, or almost all the brands that we carry here at Fleet Feet, we'll carry what we call, what Matt was saying, neutral and stability shoes. So neutral being kind of, if you're not necessarily pronating or supinating. So to kind of give you some background with what that is pronation being, say this is your foot here, you're moving on the inside of the foot, and supination would be on the outside. So say you are over pronating or over supinating, a stability shoe would be good for you, because stability shoes just add a bit more structure and support, which in turn will just help keep that foot aligned when you are running as a daily trainer. So just giving simply just a bit more structure and support, and as the term kind of entails, a bit more stability. With some brands, it's a bit more aggressive, with some brands being a little bit less structured, less stability, but still adding that good stability.
That's why, like, if you guys are researching shoes, like, you can't just listen to what an influencer or someone on YouTube might tell you, like, hey, I love the Hoka Mach 4s. Yes, the Mach 4s might be a great shoe for them, but like if you are supinating your foot, then that shoe might not be the best shoe for you. So super important, wherever you're watching this, find a local running shoe store that you can get this type of analysis where you just have a conversation, and even if you're able to walk away with a little bit of knowledge or education, even if you don't purchase a shoe, it's still good feedback for you to have where like you don't want to deal with injuries. Most people don't run because they don't, well, one, it's like somewhat torturous. But two, it's people deal with a lot of injuries when they do run. So the point of this video is for not only Finn and I to chat, but for us to help someone out there with finding the correct running shoe for them so you guys can continue running and enjoying that journey and finishing your race or whatever it might be. So Finn, what's next?
Like we were mentioning, we have the Fit ID here, so we're gonna hop on this.
Sweet.
So I'll just have you put your foot in between each square.
Woo!
Light up all around. And this here is just a 3D scan of the foot, so it's about 14 cameras that's picking up kind of some metrics of his foot that just gives us a better idea of his foot profile. That then helps us choose the right shoe for him. Awesome, you can go ahead and take a step down, Matt.
Oh damn, it says my foot's smaller.
Yeah, so we can kind of talk about the foot profile here.
Hell yeah.
So as you can see, yeah, this is your foot size at that 10.5 on the left foot.
Interesting.
That 10.7 on the right foot.
Honestly, Finn, I thought I was an 11 on my left and then 11.5 on my right. But most people actually, their feet are not the same size. And you want to make sure that you get enough room in the toe box for your foot that's bigger. So if you have an 11 and 11.5, you might want to find shoes that are 11.5 because even though that one size might be a little bit extra room, it's actually more healthier for your feet because you don't want your foot, right, in the shoe to be super scrunched. The foot, just like the hand, needs to have enough room to breathe. And it's why it's super important not to get a shoe with a tight toe box. And we'll kind of talk about certain brands that might have a smaller toe box, some that offer wider ones. But it's just good knowledge to have. Once again, even if you don't get a pair of shoes, this is most information that most people do not know, that their foot is actually not the same size. So super good insight. Finn, take us away, my friend.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, we're looking at the foot size here. And so what we typically do here at Fleet Feet is we size half a size up from the bigger foot. So in Matt's case, that would be the right foot. So with that 10.7, we typically go a half size up.
Yeah.
So for you, that would probably be about 11, if needed, 11.5 with some brands that run small. So yeah, an 11.5 would fit like an 11.
Yeah.
That's typically what we do here. And of course, we always adjust to what feels most naturally comfortable for you. But yeah, that's typically what we do in terms of the shoe size.
Awesome.
And then if we go down, we're now looking at the width of your foot.
Okay.
So for the standard width for men, for the average amongst the population is that letter D. So as you can see, Matt, you're on that left foot, you're kind of right on that standard width.
Mm-hmm.
That right foot just being a little bit wider in that right foot. Not necessarily a true wide in that 2E range, but just something to keep in mind when we are looking at shoes.
Hell yeah.
So I would stick with the standard width for most shoes.
Awesome.
We're now looking at your arch height, Matt. So looking at the arch height, looks like with both that left and right foot, you are in that high profile. So yeah, now moving on to the instep height. So the instep height is just looking at how much volume your foot takes up when it's in the shoe. So as you can see here with that 3D foot, we're kind of getting a better idea of kind of the top of the foot is what we're looking at.
Oh yeah.
So with that high instep in that right foot, Matt, maybe sometimes in the past you have maybe experienced some pressure or some tightness along the top of the foot.
Yes.
So with that, there are certain brands that will help with that
sure.
higher instep.
For
So
sure.
just make it a little bit more comfortable for you. Now finally, we're looking at the heel width, another good metric to look at when looking at your foot profile. So with the heel width, a little bit more narrow in the left foot for you, Matt. So if heel slippage is an issue out of the shoes that I bring out today, please communicate with me. And there's certain tying techniques like the runner's loop that we can try to help secure the heel if that is an issue.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much kind of a good rundown of that kind of fit ID and what it looks at. The biggest thing being that foot size. Again, we go half size up, so about 11, 11.5 with some brands that run small, and then that width there is also a good metric to look at. So of course we'll stay in that standard width, and then finally that instep height. So with that higher instep in that right foot, just something to keep in mind when looking at shoes for that top of the foot for that comfort.
Let's just say I don't know. I have no idea what brands.
Yeah.
Like I guess would you just give me a couple options based on this criteria? Like certain brands that might be a good fit.
Are there any brands that you heard about that you want to try, or is there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've heard of Hoka, Nike, Brooks, Saucony. Like I think those kind of would be ones that like I put up top tier in that sense. Exactly, at least ones I've heard or been in already.
Of course.
But obviously, I want it to be where if this is your first daily trainer, let's kind of stay in that realm where it's like your first shoe. Because the goal of this is, hey, you get your foot scanned. Maybe you buy a shoe, maybe you don't. But I want to make sure that we get people in daily training shoes and we can kind of go into a topic like of carbon fiber plated versus trail running shoes versus our daily trainer. It's kind of like, if you think about like a car, think about your trail running shoes as like an SUV or a truck, right? That's gonna be more beneficial for when you're hitting trails, when you're on the actual like harder terrain. But if you're just running on the street, on the road, or in the city, finding like just a daily trainer, which Finn's gonna bring out a couple options for us, would be probably the best fit. It breaks my heart when people are wearing carbon fiber shoes, just walking around in Trader Joe's or walking around in the city. Like, you wanna make sure that the plated shoe, one, it's kind of like a sports car. Think about carbon fiber shoes as a sports car. You wanna utilize that for certain events or races or times that you wanna go really, really fast. You don't wanna go fast Monday through Friday. Like, you wanna use that on a Saturday or a Sunday. So keep that in mind, that the running shoe you select is gonna be super important. There's a need for every single type of running shoe. So we just gotta find what works for you.
All right, so the next step we'll take from the Fit ID, we'll then go to what we call the dynamic scan. So this looks at, for Matt, this will look at your pressure of your feet and also the movement of your foot. Say you are pronating or supinating. So this is what we use to look at that. Simply what Matt, you'll be doing is just walking all the way forward, 2 steps, typically as I do, and then you'll turn around and come back 2 steps. And it'll take a couple times, so I'll just let you know when to stop.
Let's do this. If you mess this up, that's on you.
And just like that, yeah, we have the dynamic scan. So yeah, this is Matt, this is your dynamic scan here. So like I mentioned, this is looking at the pressure of your feet, Matt, and also the movement. So first we'll look at the pressure. So typically we'll see a little bit of pressure in the heel and also the forefoot. So as you can see, you do have a little bit of heel pressure in both that left and right foot, as well as that forefoot pressure, a little bit more so in that right foot, which is totally normal. It's even normal to have maybe one side that you favor over the other as well. Yeah, pressure honestly looks great throughout. It is totally normal to have some little bit of high pressure areas throughout your foot. And an insole, like I was mentioning, along with that arch support, the goal of an insole is also alleviating those high pressure areas, so it kind of help your weight distribution throughout the shoe. So something like that would help that weight distribution, help even out those high pressure areas. And now looking at the movement of your foot, honestly, you have a pretty neutral gait. I'm not seeing much pronation or supination, much at all. Maybe a little bit of pronation. But again, that is totally normal for most people to pronate or supinate. No one has that perfect gait.
Like, every time someone runs, if you look at Eliud Kipchoge, if you look at all like really, really good marathon runners, they all slightly pronate because like naturally gravity pronates your foot slightly. So you will turn your foot slightly if you put your running form in slow-mo and you watch it from the back or watch it from the front. You'll even see your own foot. No matter how great your running form is, you'll probably pronate just a tad bit. So it's not anything to be too overly concerned about. You could still probably fit in a neutral running shoe, and you probably don't need an insert, but just keep in mind the insert's really made if you're over pronating or over supinating, where it's then becoming detrimental to your running form and then also to certain limbs in your body, because when your foot is out of balance, then up the chain, ankle, knee, hip, you start to get pain in these other areas. So just keep that in mind. A little bit of pronation is gonna happen with most runners, so just keep that in mind. We're here, Finn just brought us 3 options for shoes. He's gonna run through these really quick. We're gonna try them on, test them out, running them a little bit. But Finn, what do we have here?
Try to catch me howling at the moon.
That's a wrap on the fitting process here at Fleet Feet. Obviously, if you don't have a Fleet Feet near you, you can probably go to your local running shoe store or something similar to a Fleet Feet and get this similar 3D scan or some form of a running analysis. I appreciate Finn. Thank you for helping us out. We have a couple shoe options to choose from. If you're out there, go to your local running shoe store and get your foot scanned. Boom. That's a wrap at Fleet Feet. We just got our foot scanned. We had some options for different types of running shoes, figured out what shoe size we were, and that's what you should expect when you go to your local running shoe store. Figure out what size you are, what type of running shoe you need, if you are a pronator, a supinator, or if your foot is flat, high, or neutral arched. Ultimately, the end goal is to continue the sport of running pain-free and to make it just a little less torturous. I appreciate all you guys tuning in. If you got any value out of this video, make sure you like, hit that subscribe button, and if you can, hit that bell icon so you guys get notified when I push out videos just like this. But if you can, drop in the comments, let me know what video you guys want to see next. Until next time, deuces, baby. Let's go.
Will you find me? Hope you find me.